The greatest sport in the world is mixed martial arts, and as MMA globalizes and becomes the global powerhouse that it should be, we see fighters from unknown and more obscure regions of the world becoming very, very talented and notable. That's why today I'm going to be giving you the greatest MMA prospect from every single country in the world. Now, just as a warning, some countries, maybe your country, might not have a prospect. We're not in every single country yet, but MMA is getting there. There's very few that don't have fighters. Some will have very good prospects, some will have very bad prospects. Maybe. Let's get into it. You'll see. Now, obviously, I love making these videos for you guys, but they do take an extraordinary amount of time and effort to make. So I just ask that you like and subscribe. And what actually really helps, more than liking and subscribing, we'll do that too. Leave a comment and share the video. That'll make it kind of blow up a little bit quicker. If you guys could do that, that would be awesome. Alright, let's get into it. Now, we did one of these videos for every single state in America. That was really interesting. Let's see how those prospects age compared to a global prospect video. Seeing how these guys' careers play out is going to be very interesting. And alphabetically, we're going to be going to our first country, which is Afghanistan. It was a very successful start for Wahid Nazhand, the Stone Eater out of Afghanistan, but there were definitely holes in his game. You could see him attempting to strike, getting time with the takedown right here. He ended up getting the win in this fight anyway, just because he had a really good sprawl. He shifted into mount, he got the ground and pound finish, but he's been caught before, unfortunately, and I thought, this was going to be the case. After he got finished in ACA, I thought, okay, let's write this guy off, but let's not do that, because man, he came back from that loss with an entirely new, filled out frame, and he also has just patched a lot of holes in his game and looks like a very, very complete fighter. I'm very impressed the way that he keeps attacking the single leg. He loses a single leg, he keeps attacking it, he gets the takedown. As you can see, now that he's in mount, he beautifully denies his opponent's transition for a scramble. He beautifully denies a scramble attempt, takes the back, attempts to rear naked choke, and he doesn't stop. He's non-stop. It's an onslaught on the ground. He keeps going. He loses it momentarily, eventually sinks it in, one-armed rear naked choke, and with the new strength that he's found from his welterweight build, his opponent has to tap out. Wahid Nazhand is very impressive if he could get it to the ground. He's a very strong welterweight. That was kind of the first fight where we could say, yeah, this guy's really good. I mean, that was some pretty high-level stuff from Wahid Nazhand. Now, Afghanistan is currently a place where we kind of need MMA representation. There are places like the UFC, there are places like ACA, he could always go back there, but I'm thinking with PFL MENA being the success that it was, it almost seems like it was tailor-made for Wahid Nazhand. Now, originally for Albania, I had Arijan Topallaj. And Topallaj, I was thinking like, wow, this guy's a cool striker. Is his brother Ermal Topallaj, which is a pretty good kickboxer right now. So I was going to put him on the list. He's 12-2, beautiful record. I look at his record a little bit more closely. 14-20, 6-10, 14-65, 2-9, 2-4. This guy is one of the most abhorrent can crushers I've seen in a long time. This dude was fighting Jay Ellis, for God's sake. He's not getting on the prospect list, so who do I have instead? Now, I was a little bit hesitant to put this guy on the list because he's coming off of a loss, his first career loss, but my number one prospect from Albania is going to have to be Arijan Topallaj. Topallaj is 6'1" at lightweight, which, that's huge. Nowadays, with like the Jalen Turners and the Dan Hookers running around, maybe he's not, but still, a very long lightweight, and I like the way that he uses his length. He has kind of a more karate stance. He uses that jab. He uses his range really well. He looks solid on the feet. Story of this fight was, he's beating up his opponent who never got finished before. His opponent goes in for the grappling. Look what he does. Beautiful! Beautiful anaconda choke. My favorite submission in the whole damn game. Pulls off that anaconda choke. He's a very, very solid fighter. And the kid isn't just a grappler, he could find chins too. So I was taking a look at Topallaj's loss, and it was terrible. It was egregious. Only thing that happened the entire fight was his opponent laid on him. He got wet blanketed. That's what happened. He got wet blanketed. Now, unfortunately, very strong top position and scrambling out of side control. It's not easy, especially when you have a thick, kind of shorter guy on you. So I don't blame him too much for a loss. I think Topallaj is going to be back. He's going to be back strong. To represent Algeria is the list's first undefeated fighter at just 3-0. We have Akram Nasri. This made me laugh quite a bit. Immediately you could see his opponent's a little bit cocky, you know, throwing the tornado leg kick into a Superman punch. My boy Akram says, "Nope, not today, sucker," catches him midair, plants him on his ass.
Nope.
I mean, he obviously flattens the guy out. He gets the submission arm triangle choke. Undefeated at featherweight, 3-0. He's shown a lot of promise so far. He has very good shifts into positions, good top control, but obviously at 3-0, it's hard to tell or really talk about so much of what he could do. No, I didn't even know Andorra was a country. They have one prospect, so kind of default, it goes to Damien Kpodar. No, I couldn't find this guy's social media. I couldn't find any videos of him even fighting. But I think I found an amateur poster from this league in France. And I think he's on the poster. I think this is him. But I don't even know. So that's Andorra. I mean, they have one guy right now. Shout out Damien Kpodar. Now to represent Angola is Shido, Boris, Esperanca. Esperanca's very, very fast twitch. Maybe not the most power in his hands, but the way he swings power shots, he swings hooks, he swings big shots. He's a nasty brawler. Not a ton of power. It's his ground game that really shines. As you can see, he has very good top control. He's strong on top. He's not the most technical jiu-jitsu player, really, but he has a nice ground and pound, and he stops his opponent from being able to defend himself. He's done this multiple times. I'll show you another example. Guy's strong. The guy's in PFL now, so we're going to have to see what he can do. Now, unfortunately, the first country without an MMA prospect is Antigua and Barbuda. There is no fighter from there. That's going to happen a few times on the list, so we're going to skip that. We're going to go to Argentina, and we have Carlos Petruzella. Carlos Petruzella is truly a phenom in the welterweight division. I mean, 13-0. How is this guy still under the radar? It's genuinely baffling to me that nobody's picked this guy up. Samurai Fight House champion for like 10 bajillion years. I don't understand how this guy's not on everybody's prospect list right now. He faces competition that, okay, albeit it's not UFC level. Samurai Fight House, we saw with Kevin Vallejos. Samurai Fight House is no joke. He has submitted or TKO'd every single opponent. 13-0 all finishes welterweight. This guy's jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. 36-second inverted Kimura. He's been finishing everybody. He's currently scheduled to fight December 22nd. If he could get that win, and he amasses a record of 14-0 all finishes, the door of opportunity is open. Dana White's Contender Series, literally anything you want. You don't go 14-0, all finishes in a decent promotion and stay under the radar for very long. This guy's jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. His stand-up doesn't, he looks powerful. His stand-up doesn't necessarily look technical, but his ground game is just really good. I could see him fitting in the UFC main roster. I'm not saying, he's champion or top 15, but I could see him definitely going on like a win-loss, at least. I think he's at level right now. I think you stick him in the UFC welterweight division right now, he would stick around for a while. This kid's really good. Argentina, you have another phenomenal prospect, along with Kevin Vallejos, who just got signed. Now, for Armenia, we have Boris Boliyan. Morris is a jiu-jitsu phenom. A jiu-jitsu phenom. Just like Carlos, this guy is so good. Undefeated, 8-0 bantamweight, currently in one championship, finished every single opponent by submission. There are still guys out here who are undiscovered, finishing everybody. Like, guys like this go under the radar. His jiu-jitsu skills and his generally, for a bantamweight, he's so strong. One of my favorite performances from him, really what sold me on him, was actually a fight before he got into one. As you can see, he's bouncing his opponent's head off the canvas, caving his skull in with these big shots, right? His opponent somehow survives. He takes the back, scrambles, jumps into his own guard, and before his opponent knows it, he locks up a triangle. He cinches that triangle. But this is what I really love. This shows it's something basic, but yeah, it's the elbows. When you have a triangle, throw those short elbows, cut your opponent open, tire him out, damage him. I love that Boliyan does that. That's a very nice thing to see fighters do, and he got a technical submission, put that guy to sleep. I mean, he's knocked out, he's pacified. Armenia, you have a guy coming up right now. Now, for Australia, originally I was gonna go with Navajo Sterling, and I was right, because Navajo Sterling, short notice, Dana White Contender Series, makes his debut, knocks his opponent out, already scheduled for a fight. So my number one prospect from Australia right now is George Mangos. Man, do I like George Mangos. One, that's a funny ass name, George Mangos. There's also Colby Slickness Thickness, which is a very, very funny name and a good contender, but I gotta go with George Mangos because the quality of his competition is absolutely otherworldly. At just 21 years old, with a record of 3-0, he's going in there fighting for the Hex Championship against an opponent 13-5, and then at 4-0 he fights somebody 8-2, and then at 5-0 he fights somebody 10-2, and he finishes everybody. Let's take a look at his last fight. Let's take a look at the clean head kick knockout that he got against Shoichi Tomita. What makes George Mangos especially impressive is that by trade he is a submission grappler. I mean, he has finished every single opponent via submission until that head kick knockout, and he's now developing some pretty powerful striking. I will admit, maybe he needs to work on the defensive striking a little bit. That's the only flaw I see, but he's just 21 years old, and he's a jiu-jitsu player. And now he's really just an MMA fighter, but historically, with his finishes, he's been submitting people, and now he's knocking people out. I think the most impressive thing that he's done that really showed his tenacity and his ingenuity was this triangle that he got in his first defense of the Hex Championship. It's qualities like that that make a MMA fighter great. I see enormous potential in George Mangos. I really do. I see enormous potential. I think he's going to go very far. That's what makes Australia's prospect number one. Out of Vienna, Austria, is Austria's number one prospect, Muslim Danaev. This undefeated welterweight fighter is 7-0. Now, I don't know how much I really like his offensive striking. He's very patient, but he's almost kind of too patient where it kind of looks like a little bit slow. Like, there is definitely moments where if you put a little bit of speed and mustard on these shots, then Jorge de Oliveira could have been caught. But obviously defense, look at the head roll, very nice the way that he rolls with punches. His name's Muslim Danaev, you know that the grappling is where he shines. In his last fight, he buckled his opponent's leg and then he pounced on it, got the finish. It's very good when you improve fight to fight. This guy's only 27 years old. He has a very interesting story. Obviously, being from Chechnya and fleeing and making it to Austria, he's been through a lot of hardship in his life, and it's nice to see him put that energy towards mixed martial arts. We have another undefeated fighter at a staggering 9-0 is Azerbaijan's Mehemmedeli Omanli. I really like... Oh, by the way, his nickname's Ineffable, so if you want to F this guy, you can. He's ineffable. Omanli, very, very talented submission grappler. However, 20 years old, kind of pretty tall for featherweight. 20 years old. I would love to see him really put some striking together, but his ground game it's very solid. Beautiful anaconda choke. You'd see him cinch it up right there. I watched his last fight. Last fight was very impressive. Entire fight he's up against this Caucasus mountain. I mean, Azerbaijan's kind of the Caucasus, but still up against this Caucasus mountain fighter. He's getting out-grappled, dominated, but he has that dog in him. He has that intangible ability that is heart. He has so much heart, that thing that you can't teach. He keeps going, he keeps struggling the entire fight, and eventually scrambles, cinches up a Kimura, taps out the Caucasus fighter. Very impressive stuff from somebody who's just 20 years old and Mehemmedeli Omanli. Unfortunately for the Bahamas, there is no prospect. I mean, that's a lot of those like little islands. They don't have anybody. So we're going to have to go on to Bahrain. And Bahrain, we have Murad Guseinov. So, Murad Guseinov sounds like a Khabib, looks like an Islam Makhachev, and guess what? Unfortunately, for those who aren't a fan of the Caucasus, grinding out, grappling type of fighters, Murad is an absolute monster and everything you would want a MMA prospect to be. IMAFF European Champion, IMAFF World Champion, which is like the biggest amateur mixed martial arts tournament available. Undefeated 8-0 all finishes. Obviously a fantastic ground game. Look at this buggy choke. Come on, buggy. You don't even see Islam Makhachev do buggy chokes. That's nasty. And just look at him absolutely smash the crap out of this poor soul in Brave a couple months ago. Guys, this dude's legit, and it's only gonna get better and better and better for the career of Murad Guseinov. 26 years old. He's still got a lot of time. 6 foot welterweight. I could see him probably going down in weight. That would be my only thing, is like there are some massive welterweights now. So at lightweight, I could see him being even better. But yeah, this dude's legit. And you know, Dagestani dudes just keep coming. They keep coming. It's not gonna stop. It's not over. Umar's not the last one. Guseinov is on the way up right now. Alright, for Bangladesh, this one for me, it's a no-brainer. I didn't even have to really go through all the Bangladesh fighters. This is a guy who's still in his development stage. He's only 3-0 against, I mean, his first even talented opponent is going to be coming up just in a couple of days. Luke Newland, Levels Fight League, love that promotion. It's Shah Kamali. Shah Kamali has enormous potential, and the reason that he has enormous potential is because he has an enormous punch. This guy's extremely powerful. His actual skills as a fighter, as a boxer, as a striker are still developing, but this dude is like, for lack of a better term, he is the Bangladeshi Francis Ngannou. This guy's power is monstrous. You don't want to, I mean, he has missiles, absolute missiles for hands. This guy's potential is crazy. Bangladesh heavyweight monster, 6'3", 78-inch reach. Shah Kamali's coming up right now. I mean, heavyweight is so thin, generally, it's so thin. So, if he could just put some technique behind his hooks and his big punches, he's going to tear through the UK scene, he's going to tear through Europe, and then he's going to come to the PFL or the UFC. That's just how it's going to be. Shah Kamali is a monstrous powerhouse. Now, for our last country in this video, representing Barbados, we have Kobe Bowen. Kobe Bowen, 1-0 in MMA. He went to bare knuckle. It didn't go the most well for him. I think he went 1-2 in bare knuckle fighting championship. But, and this is him. He's fighting in like this triangle boxing shit. I couldn't actually find footage of it. His striking looks good. He looks very light on his feet. He's 1-0 in MMA. Barbados, I mean, come on. How small of a country is that? The fact that they have somebody representing themselves undefeated, you know, just 1-0. Striking actually doesn't even look bad. That's very impressive. I'm very impressed with Kobe Bowen, named after Kobe Bryant. I learned that from triangle boxing shit. You know, fantastic that they have somebody to represent themselves. Guys, this was part 1. We're going to do a video every single other day. These are pre-recorded. I got you guys. Leave a comment on this. Leaving a like is important, but leaving a comment is so much more important because that'll help with this algorithm so much. This has been No Chill MMA. I'll see you the day after tomorrow for part 2.